His name is Kubwa. The Great One. Weighing nearly a ton, he is a giant among giants. He belongs to an extraordinary family. All with hidden superpowers. And we are about to show you their world. Like never before. These predator families rule our planet. For the very first time, we reveal their astonishing superpowers. Like never before. More than 1 million wildebeest are on the move. Every year, as the land dries, the herds strike north across the Great Plains of the Serengeti in search of fresh grass. And every year, parched and dusty, they must quench their thirst at a muddy river. The crocodiles that stalk these waters are among the largest on Earth. And among these monsters, the greatest is Kubwa. An 18-foot Nile crocodile. To catch the meal he's waited 12 months for, he must first maneuver his colossal bulk without spooking his target. Only when he's close, insanely close, can he unleash his fearsome superpower. His skull-crushing bite. To the drinking animals, Kubwa is just 2 small lumps of mud. No other large predator can hide like this, in plain sight, and attack its victim from point-blank range. The key to Kubwa's superpower is a series of gigantic jaw muscles. Their combined weight is a staggering 100 pounds. But size is only half their secret. Packed with special high-powered fibers, they can also contract with around 60% more force than regular muscle. In an instant, Kubwa can concentrate up to 70 tons of pressure through his teeth, clamping them onto his target like a bear trap. If he gets just the slightest hold, there will be no escape. The wildebeest, however, has quick reactions and can deliver a bone-shattering kick. Not only has Kubwa missed, his teeth have taken a battering. Hunting large prey isn't easy, even for one so powerful. And in a couple of days, the herds will be gone. But at over 60 years old, Kubwa has experienced worse setbacks. A missing tooth is hardly a crisis. He can replace every one of them at least 50 times. And for now, he still has around 63 to work with. Like all crocs, he's also built to take a beating. His already thick hide comes with an added layer of protection, unique to crocodiles. Running the length of his back, plates of interlocking bone form an invisible suit of armor, a built-in shield against horns and hooves. It looks like old Kubwa might get a second chance. A dozen or so stragglers have returned, desperate for a drink before they move on. Kubwa's only weak spots are his eyes. But even these, he keeps out of harm's way by retracting them into his skull. The only downside, when he strikes blind. This time, Kubwa has the squeeze on his victim. His grip is so strong, he needs just 4 teeth to hang on to a full-grown wildebeest. It takes him less than a minute to finish the job. Far from defending his prize against other crocodiles, Kubwa welcomes them to the feast. There's plenty of meat to go round. And by working together, they can make short work of the carcass. It's a meal deal that suits everyone. To claim his share, Kubwa executes the infamous death roll. A twisting move that crocodiles use, first to drown their prey, then to break it apart. Kubwa hasn't enjoyed a binge like this for nearly 12 months. But consuming a fifth of your body weight in one go creates a potentially deadly problem. For a cold-blooded croc, digesting a blowout meal can take weeks. More than enough time for the meat in your belly to rot. And food poisoning isn't the only thing that can cause death from within. An undigested leg bone could lead to a fatal blockage. Bloated with food, the last thing Kubwa needs is an interruption. If his once-a-year supersized meal isn't going to kill him, he needs to ramp up his digestion with a gruesome, flesh-dissolving party trick. As blood flows around his body, it accumulates carbon dioxide, a waste gas, but also a key ingredient for making stomach acid. Thanks to his advanced heart, Kubwa can hang on to this toxic carbon dioxide and use it to his advantage. He does this by activating a special valve found only in crocodiles. When the valve shuts, his blood is diverted. So instead of going to his lungs, it flows straight to his stomach. Here, the retained carbon dioxide triggers stomach cells to pump out hydrochloric acid at a blistering rate, around 10 times faster than in any other animal. The acid jet wash is so intense that even bone is eventually liquefied. By the time old Kubwa is done, almost nothing has gone to waste. Crocodiles like Kubwa have ruled the planet's rivers since the time of the dinosaurs. They're so good at what they do that they've barely changed in 100 million years. Today, Africa's Nile crocs are just one branch of a world-conquering dynasty. A formidable lineup of at least 24 different species. Powerful jaws come as standard. But the real secret of their success lies in a more surprising box of tricks. Hidden under the hood. Crocodiles are among the world's most powerful predators. Cold-blooded killers from the age of the dinosaurs. Engineered to take down the toughest targets. But their success is built on much more than brute strength. Travel to the forests of West Africa, and you'll discover a croc who could hardly be more different from the mighty Kubwa. say hello to Moki, a dwarf crocodile. At just 20 pounds, she's not much bigger than a small poodle. And she loves to go walk about. Don't be fooled, though. This pocket predator has dark powers. This pint-sized member of the clan can be as badass as the biggest. Most crocodiles lurk at the water's edge and wait for their prey to come to them. Dwarf crocs, however, have a more go-getter attitude. One of the most terrestrial members of the family, they often leave the water to hunt on land. If the forest seems full of candy, though, most of it is out of reach. Little Moki hasn't eaten for weeks. And being small, she could easily end up on someone else's menu. It's a jungle out here. And the African night crawls with dangerous enemies. Darkness, though, is when Moki shines. Because like a sorceress, she can turn night into day. Her extra-large eyes are packed with light-sensitive cells that harvest every sliver of moonlight, even under the dense canopy. And behind each wide-open pupil, an internal mirror acts like an image intensifier, boosting the signal. So she is equipped with her own night vision goggles. Pound for pound, little Moki bites with just as much force as Kubwa. This time, her nocturnal stroll has paid off. But what if she could discover that special place where you never have to go hungry? Somewhere warm and safe, with a guaranteed supply of food. Welcome to the Batcave. A network of tunnels that runs for more than a mile under the forest. Their full extent is unknown. But now, for the very first time, infrared cameras are revealing their astonishing secrets. This is Rocky, a dwarf crocodile who, unlike cousin Moki, lives his entire life in darkness. And he's not alone. There are more crocodiles down here than anyone guessed. Perhaps that's not surprising. The air is a constant 71 degrees. Warm enough for these cold-blooded reptiles to be active round the clock. But deep in the tunnels, there isn't a pinprick of natural light. So the big mystery is how they manage to catch anything. Even with his night vision turned on full, Rocky appears to be as blind as a bat. Luckily for Rocky, though, the bats are constantly squabbling. And whenever they hit the ground, they make a noise. These low-frequency bursts are incredibly faint and tantalizingly brief. Throw in a bit of echo, and it's hard to tell exactly where any scuffling bats have landed. But for an animal without any obvious ears, Rocky can in fact hear with deadly precision. And low-frequency sounds are his forte. Unlike our ears, Rocky's ears are connected to each other by an air chamber that spans his skull. A sound that hits his left ear also comes in through his right ear and doubles back across his head. So he hears it first from the outside, then from the inside. Using the delay between these signals, his brain can pinpoint the source of the sound. For Rocky and the gang, super hearing is the key to a kill. And if they occasionally miss, their ears, it seems, are sharp enough to pick up a tiptoeing cricket. Stuffing themselves on bugs and bats, these subterranean crocodiles are thriving. And with no reason to leave, it appears they've remained isolated from their above-ground cousins for thousands of years. Long enough for their genetic makeup to have changed. They may even be starting to evolve into the world's newest species of crocodile. Gabon's amazing cave crocs are by no means the latest headline from a family full of surprises. In a mud-stained river in northern Australia, Indeko is tracking her prey with a sci-fi super sense. A recently discovered targeting system that allows her to see with her skin. Outback Australia, home to the largest reptiles on Earth. Saltwater crocodiles grow to lengths of over 20 feet. And they don't just kill humans. These violently territorial animals are also quick to attack each other. In fact, if there's one thing guaranteed to rile a salty, it's another salty invading its personal space. Imagine then, a place where dozens of these bad boys cram together. It's a recipe for total carnage. And yet every October, at least 40 of them make their way to a remote rendezvous. For Indeko, an adult female, the next 24 hours are loaded with danger. Even at 400 pounds, she's barely a quarter the size of the huge males. And the males haven't come here to mate. If Indeko can stay out of trouble, though, it'll be worth the risk. This narrow crossing point offers the perfect spot to ambush an approaching bonanza. Tens of thousands of fat, calorie-packed mullet. Every year, these saltwater fish take advantage of a massive tidal surge to reach new feeding grounds upriver. Over the next few hours, Indeko will have the chance to gorge on more fish than she normally sees in an entire month. But how do you actually see anything at all in such muddy water? Beneath the surface, visibility is virtually zero. Unless you're a croc. Indeko has an ability so strange, it sounds like science fiction. She can see into the murk with her skin. Look closely at her face. And it's peppered with tiny bumps. Each one is a miniature pressure pad, 10 times more sensitive than a human fingertip. As a fish swims past, it disturbs the water around it, creating a slight turbulence that Indeko can sense from up to 10 feet away. Her skin is so sensitive to pressure that she can tell the difference between a worthless minnow and the meal-sized mullet that she's waiting for. Before long, the rising moon is pulling in the super tide. As the river swells, the arriving fish are funneled into a cauldron of choppy water, where the big males are waiting to snap them up. Indeko looks to join the feast. The banquet, though, is threatening to become a brawl, where one wrong move could cost her a leg. It's not easy for Indeko to muscle in, when everyone else is so much bigger. And when she comes under attack, her only safe option is to turn tail and beat a retreat. Indeko has slogged nearly 30 miles to get here. But away from the rapids, the mullet are spread out and much harder to intercept. It's starting to look like a long swim home on an empty stomach. Indeko, however, is not about to quit. Remarkably, she doesn't just have pressure sensors on her face. She has around 9,000 of them, covering her entire body. So she adapts her hunting technique. Spreading her arms like a pair of antennae, she extends the range of her fish finders. Plenty of fish still coming through. Indeko won't be going hungry tonight. By morning, the last of the mullet have gone. And Indeko too is slipping quietly away, with a full belly and all four limbs. As a rule, the only thing an adult croc has to look out for is a bigger croc. But in the jungles of Mexico, a different kind of enemy is on the prowl. Zama, a Morlet's crocodile, is no giant. And the youngsters would make an even easier meal. What this hungry jaguar doesn't know, however, is that even these guys can pull off a breathtaking defense. Most animals would steer clear of this 7-foot predator. But to stay alive in the jungles of Mexico, Zama, a Morlet's croc, needs to tread carefully. Because these forests are stalked by a more dangerous assassin. Zama has risked a 5-mile walk to get here. a remote lake where the hunting is usually good. Like all crocodiles, she feels safest in deep water. And in 30 years of coming here, this secluded paradise has never disappointed. Today, however, Zama has a small problem. Whippersnappers. There must be a dozen of these juveniles, all of them eyeing a quick meal. Although there's lots of game coming to drink, the young guns are better at scaring the animals off than catching them. For Zama, this is less than ideal. No one likes to turn up at their favorite retreat and find the whole place overrun with kids. By midday, the juniors have tired themselves out. As they doze off, they seem to be unaware of any danger. For a 200-pound jaguar, a sleeping moorlet spells dinner. But this crashed-out teenager is not as defenseless as he looks. In fact, he appears to have a whiz-kid superpower that allows him to fall asleep while remaining wide awake. Powering down one side of his brain, the crafty croc keeps the other side switched on. And with his active eye watching the forest, he has his flank under surveillance. The cat was never getting close. It surely can't be long, though, before the croc will have to come up for air. And jaguars are patient. This one, however, is in for a surprise. Navy SEALs are trained to hold their breath for up to 3 minutes. Incredibly, our croc can stay down for a good 2 hours. On a single lungful of air. When he took his last breath, he stored some of the air in a series of inflatable sacks. His dive tank. Some of these sacks are physically attached to his heart. So each time his heart beats, the sacks act like miniature bellows, pushing tiny amounts of fresh air into his lungs. And in the lungs of a crocodile, this air is able to flow round and round in a continuous one-way loop. By slowly circulating his stored air, he can gradually extract almost all the oxygen from it. Like a diver with a rebreather. In effect, he can continue to breathe while he's holding his breath. There's gotta be something easier to catch. With the danger gone, the hunted can get back to being hunters. Maybe one of them will strike it lucky. Zama has suffered the youngsters long enough, and she knows a free lunch when she sees it. Too bad, kiddo. This is Zama's pond. Outwitting a jaguar is one thing. But in the swamps of Louisiana, there is no place to hide, nowhere to run. From an invisible enemy that's always waiting to attack. Although they're related to crocodiles, alligators have been evolving separately for more than 80 million years. The quick and easy way to tell them apart is by their smile. With its jaws shut tight, a gator shows only its upper teeth. Teeth which every spring they use in anger to mutilate their rivals. By late May, courtship season is winding down. And with one last chance to attract a mate, Romeo is cranking up the volume. His ear-splitting roars travel for almost a mile through the swamp. Where they arouse the interest of a breeding female. If she likes what she finds, she could produce a brood of up to 50 tiny Romeos. The trouble is, Romeo has competition. A hard-bitten rival who's also looking for love. When the males fight, they fight to kill. The challenger isn't intimidated. But Romeo's darned if he's backing down. His Juliet watches from a safe distance. She seems to have fallen for Romeo. But unless he can see off the competition, their budding romance will be dead in the water. It's the challenger who's retreating. Although maybe not for long. Romeo's victory has come at a cost. For a gator, it's barely a scratch. In a stagnant swamp, though, the gash on his neck is an open door to infection. The water here is swarming with microbes, including some of the most dangerous bacteria on Earth. Within seconds, billions of them are pouring in. The same deadly pathogens that cause fatal blood poisoning in humans. And they double their number every 20 minutes. Romeo needs to get his wound out of the water and warm himself up. If he succumbs to infection, his rival will be back. By heating his body, Romeo can boost his natural defenses. But time is not on his side. As the bacteria spread, his giant killer cells race to hunt them down. These exterminators can each pick off dozens of the invaders. But the bad guys are constantly replicating. And with every passing second, they're releasing more toxins into Romeo's body. Incredibly, though, Romeo can afford to relax, because under his skin, he's bristling with a vast array of weapons, honed by millions of years of germ warfare. Battalions of killer proteins are already counterattacking, stabbing the invaders and cutting holes in them until they pop. And these paratroopers aren't alone. White blood cells act like mobile rocket launchers, unleashing swarms of germ-seeking missiles. Whatever bugs the swamp throws at him, Romeo destroys with his instant, all-out, molecular blitzkrieg. Armed with a world-beating immune system, Romeo snuffs out the infection in a matter of hours. Which means he can turn his attention to more important things. Like wooing. For his charm offensive, though, he'll need a different kind of chemistry. Crocodiles might not be the world's cuddliest creatures. But these amazing animals are tooled up with the most unbelievable superpowers. And who cares about a beauty parade when you're still top of the food chain after 100 million years?